Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Julie's Orchids. On the table before you, you see a species Cattleya purpurata planted up in bark, sitting on the cookie sheet. So that means today we're going to repot this one, take it out of bark, and we're going to put it into pumice. Now, you guys might remember this plant. I'll put a link in up here. I got it a while ago. There is some question as to whether this is actually the species Cattleya purpurata or if it is a primary hybrid of the purpurata. To be honest with you, Michael McCarthy was the one that brought it up, and I think I do agree with him. I think he's right that it's not the species, which is a little bit disappointing because I was bought it because it said it was a species. But the bloom is still quite beautiful and it has a nice fragrance. Its newest growth is now putting out a nice new root nubbin in there. We'll zoom in on that a bit better here. Yeah, it's got nice new root nubbins coming out. So it's the perfect time to put this questionable species Cattleya into my preferred setup of pumice. And we're going to do something a little bit different with this one. I was gifted some larger lava rock, and since I'm running a bit low on my 7 to 20 millimeter size pumice, I'm going to do a mixture of the largest lava rock and the pumice. So yeah, this is what we're going to be using. The lava rock chunks in about this size and my normal pumice. Why am I doing that? Well, it's because I'm running low on this and I haven't made it down to canning bale to pick any more up. And I was gifted these from Lynn Brooks, and I thought, why not? We'll give it a go. It's going to be the same setup, the semi-hydro self-watering sort of setup in the whole pots with the holes in the back, and we're going to do the same sort of water bath technique to drop them in. Okay, so I've given this a pretty good soak this morning. So the bark is all pretty wet. You can see that the roots are quite green. They've taken up a lot of water. I've done that because there's roots growing, right along the rim. I don't know if you can see that there, right along the rim of the pot. And this will help those roots to release from the pot. Now I'm just going to give the pot a good squeeze. Again, this is hoping to release some of these roots from this pot. And I'm a bit worried about these ones here in the back corner. Let's zoom in on those. You can see these ones here just growing right along the rim of the pot. I may need to get a blade out to get those off. We'll see. We'll see if we get lucky. But sometimes you can find a spot that's already released and just kind of follow along and it'll gently pop off. Like I said, that's why I watered and really soaked this one. Aha, that's coming loose there. That's good. All right, we'll get this a little bit better into frame and we'll start getting some of this bark out of here. And we'll get this out of this pot. All right, so we're just going to try to invert the pot a little bit, get some of this bark out. Like I said, I think I need to get a bigger tray. This root here is still kind of stuck along the side. Let's see if we can't coax that one off. There we go, that did it. Okay, there we go. Well, we can tell by looking at it that we've got quite some dead roots right here. There are some live roots, so we will need to be trimming quite a bit. But we've got some good growing root tips here. And this is just a mess of matted dead stuff. Yeah, that came off quite nicely. You always take those. Yeah, so seeing these really just mushy, rotted roots in the middle, making me think that perhaps my idea to use the large lava rock is maybe a good idea. I keep it from being quite so moist in the center of the pot. And oh, I possibly should have got to repotting this one sooner than I did. Um, but you know, there's still new root growths coming. That little piece of bark here, there we go. Oh yeah, there's all sorts of little new root growths coming along in here. All right, so what I'm going to do real quick is empty off the bulk of this on this tray and come back and finish tidying up these. Yeah, like I said, even though they look brown, they're still mostly firm. Now this one's got a little side branches are squishy, and everything else is fine. So I'm just going to cut off these two little squishy side branches. All right, well that should do it there. And we'll try to pull off some of these sheaths while we have the tray. I do try to remember to pull these off when I repot. I'm not the best about pulling them off otherwise, but it is kind of a good idea after they dry to pull them off because it's a good hiding place for pests underneath the paper of the sheaths. I'm going to be really careful right here because of that new little root we've got going on. And I don't know that I'm going to do much more than just that. I'm leaving that bit. But I do want to try to remove some of these other bits of this sheath. Okay, so we've got those tidied up pretty good. And we're going to go ahead and just set this one aside again and clean up the workstation. And we'll be right back. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to do the water bath technique, and I'm going to use this size pot. I think it's a 20 centimeter pot. And we're just going to backfill it. Maybe might be a little bit too big of a pot. It's the one that I have that will fit, I think, the root system, how they're curling around, which is why I've decided to go ahead and use the large lava rock instead of just the 7 to 20 millimeter size pumice. And Happy has decided now is a good time to eat. So I'm going to finish filling up this bowl and wait for Happy to finish eating, and we'll be back. So I've got the bowl filled again. My holes are to the back. I'm going to start off with a layer of the large lava rock as sort of caulking along the bottom. And so I'm going to try to, if this makes any sense, make a pile of it towards the middle of the pot. And we'll have a look and see kind of what I've done there. A little pile towards the middle. And this is where I need a bigger bowl. Now the plan is, this thing looks like it has a bit of an upward climbing growing habit. So I'm going to put this end to the back And then I'm going to put the rest of the large lava rock towards the back so that it can kind of grow up it. I anticipate that I'm going to lose all of these existing roots. This is a species, and it's a Cattleya, and we all know my luck with Cattleyas and in general. So I've got that bit. Oh, I'd like to get these roots. Yeah, that's the problem with the roots. They're all sorts of just dangly here. So let's try coming at it like, because I want these roots sort of underneath the rhizome. And yeah, something like that. So I'm just going to drop sort of the larger lava rock along the back here and along this part of the rhizome. Now I don't want to just put the non-porous river stones back here like I would normally do, because those roots that it has are really curling on towards the back there. And now I'm going to try to stick them up and underneath. And then the plan is to fill the rest of the way around with my pumice. And then a few more. Carefully placing these underneath this rhizome here. All right. I think that's where I like it. As you can see, it's got quite the growing pattern. I am going to drop some decorative river stones back here. This is going to end up being a fairly heavy pot, and that's okay. I'm fine with that because these plants are quite tall and they get top heavy and wobble over, which is less than ideal. All right, let's have a pan back and see how we're doing. I think it's looking okay. We'll let the water back in. And that was a little bit too generous a back in. Going to make cleanup fun. So I'm going to put a little bit more water in. I may also need to get a towel. So this pumice here is mostly wet. It is reused. I've boiled it. And to be honest with you, I thought I got more of the other debris from the other plants out. But I'm seeing that I missed some as I'm putting the pumice in. Oh well, it's been boiled. Now this is inevitably where I have the problem that I run out of water for my bowl. But I'm going to fill this back in right here with just rocks because I don't want any more pumice back there holding in water on the canes. So we're just filling this back in area here just with those rocks. And again, that's going to work very nicely to help stabilize the plant in the pot. And I think that looks good there. Now, as you can see, my cookie cutter is full of water. So now I'm kind of really at the level where I can't use this setup anymore, but I've got quite a bit of water in my pot. So we're going to take a little minute and I'm going to try and not get water all over my table. We'll be back. Well, I got the water absolutely everywhere. It's all down the floor. It's all down the corridor in the kitchen. So we're going to take a moment so I don't slip and fall and mop the floor real quick. I'll be right back. So as I was mentioning before the tragic water fiasco, I'm at the height where I can't use this technique to do much of anything else, but I want to put some more pumice around here and there. So we're just going to kind of really just let this drain out. And at this point in time, yeah, I give up on the water mess. So the nice thing about potting up in this setup is you've already watered your plant and you don't have to worry about watering it because there will be water left down in the reservoir. So let's have a look at what we're at here now. So we can see that I've got that root going down into the pumice, and it did that quite naturally. I have to be very careful of this root, but I'm going to kind of finish filling in the pumice around here, and some of these roots are going to remain sticking up out of the pumice level, but we've got pretty good, you can see the growing root tips. So we've got a small air gap right here where there's some bigger pumice and the curve of the roots didn't let the smaller pumice fall through. I'm not going to be worried about that because we've got this nice growing root tip. The hope is that these roots won't die. We'll see. And it's nice that they're right on the pot edge so I can monitor them. And for the most part, this has worked pretty good with the two different, the bigger lava rock and what I consider my large pumice. A few air gaps here or there in the media. I'm not worried about that. It'll just give it more areas for the roots to grow and air circulation. So we'll swing back up to the top here. So I've managed to fill in most of the pumice gaps. I'm going to try to put some right in through there. A couple of bigger pieces just really carefully. Yeah, that's good. Now I don't want to put any more pumice on here. I know these roots here are sticking out. I'm fine with that. But what I'm going to do now is just put a nice decorative layer of non-porous river stones on the top. Just because these new roots that are growing down in, sometimes if they go directly onto the pumice, they can get dried out from it. So now I'm out of enough of the other river stones. This is going to be a motley pot here. So we're going to use these ones here, even though I don't like the way they look. I have a whole bunch of them. These were gifted to me by my friend Lynn. And you know, you don't not use something when they were gifted to you. And I'm just going to I'm going to do a nice good coating on the top of this, mostly because I don't like the way the little stones look with the visible pumice. So I'm going to try to cover up most of the visible pumice on the top of the pot, which I usually don't use quite this much. But like I said, it's purely an aesthetic thing for me. I might regret it. Well, there we go. Now the last thing we're going to do is put the tag in the back where the holes are. And why do we do that? So that we know where the holes are on watering day, and we help to maybe not get water absolutely everywhere. There you have it. Possibly species Cattleya purpurata, all potted up in its nice new home. We have new growing root tips going into the substrate. We have existing roots along the side of the pot, so we can monitor how they have handled the media change. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. A subscribe would be great. Thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely rest of your day.